Today on Monkey Life, it's a chilly start for the chimps as winter sets in. And an anxious morning at the woolly monkey house.
They discovered little Raul on his back in one of the tunnels.
Results in a desperate fight for life for baby Raul.
The prognosis is reserved at the minute. I'm not sure.
This is Monkey World in Dorset. Tucked away deep in the English countryside, it's the largest sanctuary for monkeys and apes on the planet. And this is Dr. Alison Cronin, the primate's best friend. Alison and her team spend their lives rescuing...
Yeah, everybody's brilliant. Really good.
...and rehabilitating primates from all over the world.
Well, we're pleased with you now.
They currently look after more than 240 monkeys and apes from 15 different species. It's been snowing at the park for hours. And for Mike, Holly and the rest of the team at the Woolly Monkey House, a day which started badly has just got worse.
Yeah, they came in as normal, around about sort of 8:15. Everybody was happy here. All of the woolly monkeys here in the top house were walking about, moving around. Everybody was as normal. And then literally half an hour later, they discovered little Raul on his back in one of the tunnels. Why and how he actually got there, we just don't know. It's just a complete mystery as to what happened.
Raul has been rushed to the vets only semi-conscious and in shock. The primate care team are in shock too. Raul had such a good start in life. He was born 4 months ago, the second baby for woolly monkey mum, Paquita. It's hard to test woolies for pregnancy.
Pee.
And keeper Holly spent hours trying to train her to give a urine sample.
Paquita. Pee. Come on.
No one was quite sure when she was due to give birth. But one autumn morning, the keepers arrived to find her clutching a tiny newborn boy.
Here she is. She's doing very well. She's looking after the baby. And at the moment, we're just watching and waiting to see if she's suckling it properly. It's currently holding onto my finger with its tail. It's moving around. It seems very curious about things, and it's vocalising to the rest of the group. So at the moment, things are looking very positive.
Holly and her colleagues were delighted to discover that Paquita was proving to be a good mum, and the baby was suckling well. But Holly did have some concerns about the speed of baby Raul's progress and Paquita's unusual way of carrying him around.
We never like to be too optimistic because it kind of tempts fate. But Paquita decided to do things her own way. She wasn't carrying the baby how woolly monkeys normally do. Normally they carry them straight down their chest so it's easy for them to feed. She decided she was going to carry it like a human would, between her two arms like this. And Raul has decided he's much happier on her back or hanging horizontally on her side, which is kind of out of the ordinary, but it works for these guys. And he's feeding very well. He's very, very strong. And everything, even though it's not quite normal, seems to be going very, very well indeed.
But this morning, that's all changed, and Mike is still stunned and unsure what's happened.
For something like this to go wrong, it's devastating. It just seems so unfair. We had to take him away from his mum because obviously he needed medical attention. So we managed to get him away from his mum, put him on a little hot water bottle because he was obviously cold, and wrapped him up in nice furry blankets, cuddled him so that he became warm again, and then he was taken off to the vets, which was the quickest option, so that they could have an immediate look at him and hopefully maybe discover something that's wrong with him.
Coming up, it's touch and go for Raul, as vets fight to save the tiny woolly monkey and the team wait anxiously for the result of X-rays.
It just seems to be an unfortunate accident.
It's stopped snowing, but it's still very cold. And most of the primates are keeping warm indoors.
It's obviously more challenging to move animals around when the weather is bad, and we've had to take certain precautions. For example, we wouldn't let the capuchin monkeys out in this kind of weather, and that's really because they've only been here for a year, and they're still really finding their feet and learning how to come back in when it's cold, and so we haven't risked it, and we've not let them out because we'd be worried about certain individuals who may sit out in the snow. But the older animals and the animals that are in a good routine, that we do know that they will come back if they get too cold, then obviously we can let them out and enjoy it. But you just need to keep an eye on everyone and make sure there's no one sitting out, because obviously they'll get cold if they're out for long periods.
The chimps are a hardy bunch, and some of Hananya's group brave the weather, fascinated by the white stuff decorating their enclosure. Over at Paddy's group, the snow has had a calming effect on normally boisterous Gamba. Kathy prefers cracking the ice in the pond for a chilly snack. It's a favourite with leader Paddy. And dominant female Cindy.
I think the chimps do suffer from the cold just like we do. So they tend to go out and have a run around and brave the cold weather, but then they like to come back in to warm up. So they've not been out for long, but they've certainly been out enjoying it.
To warm them up, Paddy's group are about to have a treat. Hot jacket potatoes.
It's something that we do right the way through the winter. We like to hand feed them just to make sure that everybody gets one, because it is a firm favourite with them. So I'm just chopping them into halves, and then Maria and I will go up into the tunnel area and give them out to the chimps. During the winter time, it is important that we keep a good weight on all our chimps, so we like them to be a little bit heavier during the winter, so we do tend to up the calories slightly during the winter time, and then obviously if they get any colds or coughs, they can maintain their same body weight. So any of the ones that are slightly skinnier can have a couple, and then there's a couple that just get one or two.
Good girl, Athena. And that's pretty much it for these guys in the tunnel. They've all had their fair share.
It's snowing again, and despite the anxiety over woolly monkey Raul's fall, the team need to keep the park running. Jeremy is definitely not a fan of today's weather.
There's nothing positive about snow. Why anybody thinks there is totally and utterly beyond me. It's bad. In weather like this, the guys just stay indoors. One or two people will go outside and have a look and think, God, that's cold, and then go back in again. And that, I'm with them. Obviously the biggest problem is keeping the chaps warm, and you cross your fingers and hope not too much breaks down. But it gives George something to do with his chaps, doesn't it? Keeps them off the street.
George is head of maintenance, and in this weather it's important he keeps the heating going so the animals stay warm. Amy's capuchin group are really appreciative. It's too cold for them to even venture outside, but with the heating turned up and the keepers providing a challenging supply of extra vitamins, they've plenty to keep them entertained. Clever Elvira is first to show her balancing skills, while Fiona finds it a bit trickier to break open a melon. The capuchins were all rescued from a lab. Their balance and coordination has hugely improved since their old life in solitary confinement, as Marcy demonstrates, managing to pierce the melon skin with her sharp teeth and reach inside for the fruit and seeds. The girls are definitely getting their 5 a day with the fruit, but the veg is less popular. Dominant female Amy shows a preference for melon and doesn't give up even when it hits the deck. Capuchins are from tropical Central and South America, so they're happy to just watch the snow from their window and enjoy the feast. But whatever the conditions, work doesn't stop for the keepers at the 65-acre site. They've more than 240 apes and monkeys spread across 20 different enclosures to feed and look after. But with the park being so close to the coast, they don't often get such bad weather, and it's a bit of a novelty for keepers and animals alike.
Certainly I haven't seen snow since I've been here, so yeah, it's very rare, obviously, in this part of the country, so it's nice. Occasionally we've had tiny bits, but nothing that's settled, you know, quite like this. They're funny, the chimps, because they'll always look first, and they have, of course, seen frosty mornings, and so that can look quite white, but they all came into the bedrooms this morning and were staring out the windows and weren't quite sure what to make of it, but once they braved the outside, they enjoyed it. They seem to be very robust, actually, chimps, when it comes to that sort of thing. Often in the summertime, they'll hold ice lollies for 20, 30 minutes, so they do seem to be more immune to that, and they like the cold textures, so they came in and they had sort of breakfast in one hand and a snowball in the other.
Honey enjoys the snow, but isn't quite so keen on the cold, and has brought her snowball indoors. While Turkish chimp Zeynep, well, she just fancies having a duvet day. In their native Africa, chimps wouldn't experience temperatures this cold, so the park takes every precaution to keep them healthy over the winter.
Yes, of course, chimps can get the things that we can get, and so staff have to be very careful around this time of year. Obviously, if we're harbouring a cold or a cough, we need to be very careful around the chimps, take precautionary measures, for example, wearing face masks and that kind of thing.
And they go one step further.
Every chimp that lives at Monkey World gets a flu jab. Some years ago, we started actually the injection training with the chimps with a view to be able to do this kind of thing. If you can do it in this way, where it's, you know, they know exactly what's happening and they get a reward for doing it, it's a much nicer way of doing it.
Cookie is a perfect patient, as Kate gives her the injection in her shoulder, while Cara goes through her checklist to see who still needs a jab. Zeynep isn't happy, but presents her arm for a second time. And gets a banana and a packet of raisins as a reward. While the chimps line up for their flu inoculations, Holly has arrived at the vets with baby woolly Raul. He appears to have had a fall, but the keepers don't know exactly what happened. At the surgery, they're more used to dealing with domestic pets, but Vet Thezar takes blood tests and x-rays straight away.
That's a good sample. That's good.
Baby Raul is in great distress, but the vet must give him a thorough check to discover what's wrong.
He was collapsed, he was dying, no doubt. He was very, very poorly, just with a really heart, was beating really fast and was white, the color of the membranes was completely white, was shocked. So we put shock fluids, which is, you know, very fast fluids in terms to perk up that circulation. And then it's when we took some x-rays and we found out that the bone's density is not that good in the x-rays. And now what he's having is lack of calcium in the bloodstream and is making to be very, very sick. So yes, I think perhaps has had some head trauma. I have to admit there's a big uncertainty if this is going to be, you know, life-threatening or not. Certainly with head trauma, you know, you cannot be certain. So the prognosis is reserved at the minute. I'm not sure.
The next few hours will be critical for little Raul. Still in shock, and with a head injury which could be more severe because of a weakness in his bones, he's only just clinging to life.
In fact, the eyes, they are still moving a little bit.
Woolly monkeys are endangered and are bred at the park as part of the European Endangered Species breeding programme. Highly strung and hard to keep in captivity, every baby counts, and losing Raul would be a terrible blow for the team. The decision is made to keep Raul in overnight. But in the morning, it's bad news. Raul's condition deteriorated, and he didn't survive the night.
It's just so unfortunate. I mean, you can't really put it into words. I mean, Mother Paquita was doing so beautifully with that baby. And the baby was just fantastic. It was interacting with all the other woolly monkeys. And they are so rare, these animals, and it is very, very important that we do breed from these guys. And this is just devastating. The only thing that seems to have happened is that he had a really massive bang to the head, had internal bleeding, which caused hemorrhaging, and unfortunately that's what he died of. So it was just literally probably a freaky accident. We don't even know how that occurred. He was a very adventurous little boy. He was always climbing and jumping about all over the place. Whether he missed up in the rafters of the front bedroom and fell to the floor, we don't know, but certainly Mum did try to pick him up, and of course he wasn't able to hold on to her. We just haven't got a clue. It just seems to be an unfortunate accident.
Raul was a rare woolly monkey, so losing him is very upsetting for the team. Breeding at the park is limited because space is needed for mistreated primates from all over the world. But Alison is committed to the European Endangered Species breeding programme, which ensures the survival of the woolies, orangutans and golden-cheeked gibbons.
You know, we do everything we can to assist those three species at the park by setting up different family groups and encouraging them to reproduce and to have babies and to look after them themselves, because that's what's most important to us, is that if we breed these animals, we want them to have natural lives and for their mothers to care for them. So wherever possible, we encourage the mothers of those three species to care for their own infants and to get on with their own lives. And with the golden-cheeked gibbons, they seem to do pretty well at mothering. So far, we've been going great guns with our golden-cheeked breeding program.
Which is why, after the sad loss of Raul, Alison is delighted later in the week to meet up with Keeper Colin and hear some good news.
So you think we've got second one in the pipeline?
Yeah, she looks like she's pregnant. Go anytime now.
Okay, and how's Tien coping with that?
Okay, he's being pushed away by her.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But he's spending more time playing with his dad now.
Yeah, we're fairly sure that Peanut is pregnant now. It's been 2.5, 3 years since Tien was born. She's certainly a lot bigger in the belly. She's got quite a little round belly now, and she's always been pretty keen on her food, but she's fiercely keen on her food now. She's eating a lot more. The swelling started off quite high up. It's now dropping a little bit, so we're hoping that she'll give birth possibly within the next few months. Peanut lives with her husband, her mate, Punyo, and their little son, Tien. Now, Tien's 2.5 to 3 years old now. Tien's always been very close to his mother, but he's a lot more independent now. He spends a lot of the time playing around on his own. And also, in the past few weeks, he's been spending more time with Punyo, with his father. Now, whether this is because Peanut's actually trying to wean him or, move him away a little bit, knowing that she's pregnant, then that could be another sign. But at the moment, Tien's spending a lot of time with his father, playing together quite happily.
Peanut was rescued from a tropical bird smuggler in Cambridgeshire after a court case in which Alison gave expert testimony. Peng Yo, her mate, was stolen from the wild in Vietnam for the pet trade in Taiwan. Although Peanut's pregnancy means she's trying to wean Tien before her new baby is born, she's still happy to share a cuddle.
We do take very seriously all of those new lives that come to the park, and we're over the moon when we see that we've been doing the right things for our rescued monkeys and apes.
Next time on Monkey Life. Tests for chimp Trudy as fears grow for her health.
Anything that's going to be sinister like a tumour is going to show up nice and bright.
And baby Diego leaves Alison for his woolly monkey family.